Like a sparrow. That year of 1993, in addition to receiving my daughter Patricia, who filled the house with more joy, added to that of her siblings, I turned 30 years old. Young, right? Well, at that moment they fell on me like a slab. They say that each person has a point of crisis or crossroads in life where we realize that our childhood and youth are already left behind. It happens to some before, to others after, but for some people, assimilating this circumstance is more difficult than for others. In my defense, I have to say that everything came together suddenly. A new pregnancy at a somewhat delicate moment, because at that time Carlos lost his job. And at that time it was very difficult to find one, especially in Zaragoza. The change of house in which we lost the space, and both the children and we had to adapt. I, at the beginning of my pregnancy, started working in a family's house in the mornings until noon to help our economy in some way. I cleaned, cooked, and ironed, a little bit of everything. They lived in a well-known urbanization in Zaragoza, Parque Roma, and it was next to our house. Ursula began to go to the child care center, also located nearby, and I thought, having left the English school as we could not afford the payments, since it was a private school, was admitted to the Jose Maria Mir Public School, which was not far from our home, although it was a good walk to get there. Later, when Ursula turned 3, she also attended the same school along with his brother. In those days, my parents were in a stage of semi-separation, and my mother spent many days at our house when she was not working. It was much better for her than being at home with my father in a constant state of drunkenness and applying the law of silence, if not creating an argument. My mother helped us a lot when things got tough financially, buying food, things the kids needed, and accompanying us. In May of that year, my nephew, Javier, was born, and my sister-in-law returned to work just a month after giving birth. I was in the 5th month of pregnancy, and since at that point I could no longer work cleaning, I agreed to take care of my nephew until Patricia was born. Sometimes it was fun to see the faces of the people who passed me when we went out for a walk or to shop with a child in his pram, a couple of months old, and I was already very pregnant. The math didn't add up, and I couldn't help but laughing at the situation. Finally and curiously, on the afternoon of August 31st, 1993, the feast of St. Raymond and Nonatus, patron saint of women in labor, the contractions that will help my daughter Patricia to enter this life began. Thus, at 1 a.m. on September 1st, our patito, which means little duck, arrived, as we will call her in the family, and as after 32 years we continue to nickname her. Patricia was a very lively girl, full of energy and very funny, and she still is. She's a free spirit. She has always seemed that way to me. Every time I hear a famous song by the singer-songwriter Joan Manuel Serrat, entitled Como un gorrión, like a sparrow, my eyes fill with tears because it describes her perfectly, at least from my point of view. This is the letter of the song. She's as small as a breath and has brown hair, and an air between tender and sad, like a sparrow. She likes to beat around the bush, go from balcony to balcony without anyone getting a hand on her, like a sparrow. She was born free as the wind, has no master, and moves by instinct like a sparrow. Wandering bird who drinks the water of the ponds, and from my hand never ate. And she doesn't sell for birdseed her color or her song. She looks for her lettuce around there like a sparrow. And she feels sorry for the canary, but she does not envy a falcon. She likes to fly low like a sparrow, and to address with confidence to the clouds, and to sleep in the corner where the cats do not come like a sparrow. At that time, I thought that Patricia was my last miracle in terms of gifts from heaven in the form of children. How wrong I was. God still had one last ace up in his sleeve in that regard. A new and final miracle that will come years later, defying my age, the changes in my body, and many other things. You will meet him in the near future in another chapter. In that house, in the neighborhood of Delicias, we lived through many things since Patricia's birth. We baptized her in the humble parish of La Almudena, which is located on a street near the one where we lived. Her godparents were a married couple who were very close friends of ours, who came from our experience in marriage encounter, Manuel and Lourdes. Also in that parish, Aitor made his first communion, and thanks to his catechesis classes, I met the mother of another child in his group, who will become my best friend forever. Her name was and is Amelia. We connected quickly. We shared the same thoughts and feelings towards certain aspects of life, beliefs, and experiences. Amelia's parents were wonderful and loving people who opened the doors of their house to me, where my friend also lived with her two sons, Sergio and Alberto. My friend's marital experiences were not pleasant, but they left her with two wonderful children. No one gave her anything, and she worked cleaning in a bank, although she had extensive experience working as an office worker in the city council of a Catalan city. But unfortunately, at that time, working in Spain for women in their 30s and with family responsibilities had become an almost impossible mission, even if the person had proven experience in any area and, above all, the need to work. And the worst thing was, and still is, that men also were discriminated against when they reached a certain age, as if by jumping the barrier of 30 or 35 years old, people became useless. But from all that time with Amelia, we keep with us many days of sharing good and bad, many mornings of coffee and work, chatting about topics that most people didn't care about, of spirituality, of other lives, of more or less strange experiences lived by both of us, and other times we simply talked about our day-to-day. After many failed jobs interviews, Carlos had no choice but to bring some money home, distributing advertising through the mailboxes, and after this working in a wholesale food distributor, which somehow got us out of economic trouble. Those were very hard times when sometimes we couldn't pay the phone bill, or in the fridge we had nothing but hot dogs and some petit suisse, a dessert made of fresh cheese for the kids. Although my mother continued to help us, mainly in terms of food. Even so, the good Lord never left us helpless. Sometimes it acted through magnificent people, such as our psychologist at the time, who, in addition to offering us sessions without charge, sent us a beautiful and valuable Christmas basket when we did not even know how we were going to celebrate the holidays. Her name was Rosa Serrate. And so, between problems, joys, smiles, and tears, we will arrive in the year 1995, which will bring, among other things, great sadness, and closed another door of my past that will never be open again, like many others, by taking my maternal grandfather, Francisco, forever one day in May.